Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's Brian. Let me try that again. Hello, everybody. It's Brian, the Peerless Gamer. We are, thankfully, finally, moving along with our campaign 2. I do apologize for the delay. This isn't my regular job, so I was on travel. I was in New York last week, and the holidays came up. So I was trying to solidify some bits of the campaign before we started, right? The work of trying to create something that's going to take, us through, I don't know, 20, 30 episodes like we did with campaign 1, or maybe it'll actually finish a lot sooner, depending on how well the rolls go. So our character, Nathan, is going to have an adventure. He has a background. We've created a character for him, a character background. He has some troubles. He has a major trouble and a minor trouble, kind of like. I think what we figured out from that, and let me go ahead and shift us over to the play screen. So we have Nathan Monkwin. I thought Nathan needed to have a cool nickname. I don't know what that nickname is right now. If any of you have an idea for a cool nickname, please feel free to add them in the comments. I will advise on them accordingly. Let's hopefully they're tasteful and kind of fitting in with the overall theme of Fate Freeport being something in, piratey, something maybe somebody who's a street urchin kind of thing, like Aladdin or something like that, where we're, uh, as we go through, Nathan's going to have a character built up, maybe he has a street name or something that he doesn't want people to know him by. I kind of took inspiration from that from the previous campaign with Ironsworn, where everybody's supposed to have a handle or something like that. It may be that Nathan, Nathan doesn't like his name. Maybe it's too uppity or something like that. So the idea is to have a, something to strike fear in the hearts of people, or something like that, like a, Darkwing Duck or something like that. So the idea of what we've come up with so far, before we get started, for those of you who haven't been following along, and I appreciate you being here and watching this as well. Nathan is a dwarf. His mother was a human, his father was a dwarf. Both have died because of a storm. They were out on a boat with Nathan and his brother, Terwin, who I gave a name to just a few days ago. Did not have a name at the time, but Terwin Monkwin, which is an unfortunate name for him. Maybe his parents had a bit of a parent brain or something like that. Maybe he goes by Tur or T or something like that. There was an accident on the ship that they owned. Mother and father saved Nathan and Terwin, or T, and where is it? Oh, there it is. All right. Terwin, yes. Terwin. And they lived with their aunt, Philawan, until Nathan and them. Nathan rebelled a little bit. Maybe it was because he didn't have family. That his mother and father maybe feels bad that they left or were killed in the way that they were. I don't think there was anything magical about the storm or anything that was unexpected about the storm. I think it was just unfortunate luck. Being where they are on our analogous Earth, could be hurricane, typhoon, something like that. They just got unlucky in this case, and so uh, Nathan is he fell in with you know he decided to pave his own way and became involved in the underworld, such as it is of Freeport. Pretty good at fencing goods, so things that are collected by the guild, um, the Silent Accord, which is the local thieves guild in the area. And he's the go-between, the middleman between the dealings of the Silent Accord and the buyers who want that. So what we had figured out was that um, Nathan was to be the go-between, and obviously Nathan isn't stupid. He knows that if he is caught by the local constabulary, he's the one that's going to be given up. He has a bit of loyalty to the Silent Accord, but he's the expendable person in this relationship. So he was to deliver a book that was stolen, appropriated, if you will, by another member of the Thieves Guild to a very influential buyer. And Nathan was told to take said book to a place in Freeport. And when Nathan got to that spot, somebody was waiting for him, um, promptly beat the shit out of him, and took the book. Now, uh, James is smart enough to know that this is problematic because uh, he doesn't know if the person who beat the hell out of him and took his book without paying for it is actually the person who was supposed to pick up the book, or if there was actually somebody else who was supposed to be there. So I think that's where we're going to drop in right now. James, or Nate, sorry, got to get that name out of my head because I used that one for so long. Nathan is he's not doing too well right now. I would say that he's he's been through a bit. I would say if we follow the stress track of him, having 5 plus a minor consequence, I would say, and we go down here. So one of the things I wanted to try to do in this campaign was to do a little bit better job of journaling and chronicling what occurred during the event. I know that I can go back through 26 episodes of the previous campaign and catch up on my notes and figure out what continuity existed and what have you. I'm not trying to make a book like Brandon Sanderson or S.A. Corey or anything like that, James S.A. Corey, but or I don't have any aspirations of that. But I'm trying to keep that for continuity's sake. So I would say we start this with James having at least 2 checks on his 5-check mark, and because he's gone through the ringer a little bit, he's been beat up a little bit. I would say where and the minor consequences, maybe he's concussed, right? Minor consequence. He's concussed. He got into a fight. He's not a very good fighter, and he got his ass whooped pretty good. So as I continue on, one of the things I want to bring up is the skill list here. So this is the skill list from the Fate book. This is in chapter 5, page 96. All right. So this is the Fate book that you can get Actually, you can get the SRD online. I actually bought this. I kickstarted Fate when it came out in 2016. This is the core system. There's actually an accelerated version, and there's a condensed version, which is a shorter version. The condensed version is great. The core system has more in it, right? It is not a it is not as um, brief as this version is. This expounds a bit more. Condensed actually kind of tries to shrink down and kind of um, reduce the word size for that. So condensed is a good version. You can actually find all of these online on Evil Hat's website. You can get the SRDs for these. So you can actually play the Fate Core system or the accelerated version, which has different things like approaches. So careful, careful, strong, those kinds of things. You can find those online there. So just giving credit where credit is due. And of course, we're using the Fate free port, which, oh man, I didn't have that up. So I'm going to need to pull that up. Let me see, where is it? It's probably in my sync folder here. Report. Fate Freeport, there it is. Okay, so this is the Fate Freeport, which I will put on the screen here. So as I do that, let me bring myself back up here. So how's everybody doing today? I am getting the screen capture up because sometimes it does. Wait, report. Okay, and then location capture. Nope. Window capture. There we go. Fate report. Yep. Okay. Is big, yo. All right. I may have to switch these off as I go so I can keep track. All right, there we go. We'll transition back. All right, so the Fate Freeport up here as well, which is a about as close as you're going to get to there are other ones, but there's this is a good start if you are checking or needing a D&D type swashbuckling kind of thing, or to be able to play a magic user or a D&D type thing with a specific setting. Um, so anyway, these are the two that we're going to use. I will make these bigger or smaller as I need them. I want to make sure that I don't run into any issues there. Oh, wait. Okay, don't need to make any modifications to that. All right, so I can make that a little bigger. There we go. And remove the, there we go. Shrink that up a little bit, shrink that up a little bit. So sorry, I'm chuckling. I have a glass door, and my cat, who may or may not be a future observer of playing, is looking at me through the door, going, "Please, Dad, open the door." So you might hear her in the background too. So all right. So what we've got here is we're going to do. I think it's correctly called in media res. So as it's happening. So what we're going to start doing is James is going to regain Nathan, 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 Nathan is going to regain consciousness after being concussed. Immediately, he comes to and he's like, "Oh, my head aches." disoriented. He's found himself in a in the square in Freeport, one of the numerous places in Freeport. And I'll have a map for Freeport if we continue through this at some point. There's numerous methods by which to generate city maps online, and I'll highlight some of those for you as well. He's in I would say, a very short-looking alley uh, near a square or near an area. There might be I'm imagining, wooden old-fashioned buildings. There might be a fountain in the middle where people get water from because it's a potable water source. I would say it's not midday. It's going to be, say it's going to be roughly, I would say almost dusk, right? Nobody has bothered James. I think, yeah. So the other thing I wanted to bring up was I'm looking at skills and stunts because what I wanted to do was I wanted to not limit what I can do, but I would like to have the list that is there for it in an easy, way of collecting that information. So um, these are the skills that we would potentially use in Fate. There might be some other ones as well as we go along. Uh, when I queried Copilot, it said that there were 20 skills, but I only find 18 here, and the 20 that they gave me on Copilot don't match, but like, a handful of these. So the idea is we're going to use these skills as the methods by which we want to go and do things. Um, and ideally, what I'll do is I'll have to figure out, uh, and as with most things, when you're watching like a live play RPG session, I may end up having to backtrack on some things. Like if you've ever watched High Rollers, or if you've ever watched Critical Role, if a mechanic doesn't work, I'm more than willing to scrap it and go back to a more purely Fate option here. So for now, I've broken down Strength, Con, Int, Wiz, Dex, and Charisma. But Fate doesn't use these attributes. They use skills, and they put them in a certain level. So um, from like -3 to +3 in terms of how good you can use those or how poorly you use those. And so my thought was that I will use those, but like with athletics, might be a dex thing. Burglary will be might be a dex thing as well. Contacts would be a wisdom or intelligence type roll or a knowledge roll. Crafts would be maybe a charisma check, that kind of thing. Uh, so each one of these might have a different way. So let's say I will look through those and see what I can do to map those to various bits there. So Nathan is woke up. His head aches. Maybe he's got a smack on his head where somebody knocked him out. I think I want to figure out what he remembers. So in this case, um, oh, and I'm going to say he's probably lost a refresh in this case. So maybe he tried to use one of his stunts or abilities. So I want to say he has probably a 2 refresh. Maybe he's used one of his abilities. Um, maybe he can't use the grizzled resilience right now because he used that to try to stay awake or ignore the consequences of an attack that would put him out of commission. Maybe he used it more than once. Maybe the fighter or fighters that he was up against were far more clever than he was. So I want to say the first thing he's going to do is he's going to roll. I think he wants to run like a notice or gather information check, and um, so first let's see how they handle these. So yeah, skills, strength, dex. So um, dexterity is quick, agile, and graceful, sneaking through a quiet street. That's why I picked deception, burglary, all of those would be like dexterity related skills. Melee weapons, jumping, climbing, sprinting. So athletics might be a strength skill instead of that. So what I'm probably going to do is take the skill list and kind of modify them accordingly, kind of map them to the ones that are on here in case this completely becomes untenable, and then I will move it back. Constitution, maybe like empathy. I could use empathy for that. That might be, feelings or, bodily type things. There might be some, notice, might be a constitution check as well, that kind of thing. Or it might be like, half constitution, half intelligence. So, all right. Leveraging obscure information, deciphering a secret code, wisdom, willpower, awareness, and basic. Okay, so this is a wisdom thing. So we're going to overcome an obstacle. So the setting right now is, I would say, a bustling. That would be one of the aspects of the location that we're in right now. It would be a bustling quad or courtyard kind of thing, or square in a village or a city like Freeport. It's one of many. There's a fountain with water, and it's I would say it's a sunny day. The sun is about to set, and so this is a botched attempt to give the book that was stolen back. And so in this case, we're going to use wisdom to overcome that. All right. Okay, so let's see, 5. Yeah, 5 is superb. Okay, so wisdom. So wisdom is a 1. All right. So let me double check here. So when I am right, you choose one skill you're good at. Maintaining a pyramid structure is not necessary in Fate Freeport. So that's the skill structure that is in Fate Core, but in Fate Freeport they don't use that. And I may end up having to go back to a more pure Fate example here to maintain that. So in this case, gonna move my dice out of my dice container thing here. These are fairly heavy dice. I got them from Flying Horse Duck. These are the ones with 31 millimeter die 20. They're ginormous. But I'm using regular typical Fate dice to roll this. So that has a plus, a minus, plus, a minus, and 2 areas that are 0. So this is +1, -1, and 0. And the idea is we need to roll according to that. So in this case, I think we're going to, we have to roll wisdom. So what I'm trying to understand, and maybe I should have gone through that a little bit more, is resolution mechanics, right? Character creation, racial backgrounds. We're not doing the taint stuff. Introduction, using this book. Okay, with Fate Core, so you'll need a set of those rules. Other rule books are useful but not necessary for play. Okay, so need actions and outcomes. All right, so we roll 4 fate dice, add together the symbols on the dice, add your skill rating to the dice roll. Your roll is, so skill rating, so that would be, in this case, wisdom would be 1. The total is your result in the ladder. If you invoke an aspect, add +2 to the result or re-roll the dice. So in this case, to notice, I think we're going to, we're going to have to do something really extreme for this to be something of note. So I'm going to roll. Oh my God. Okay. So my first roll ever on a fate-based campaign is 4 negatives. So in this case, that is the absolute worst roll that you could ever have, regardless of the roll for wisdom. So even I can add 1 to this and makes a -3, but the point is I've critically fumbled. So it's like rolling a 1 on a die 20. Uh, so uh, Nathan comes to. He looks around. He doesn't see anything out of the ordinary. Uh, there's no telling how long he's been out. Now, see, if I'd have rolled something like a +4, I might have come to enough or fast enough to see somebody running away and I could give chase. This actually doesn't suck too bad in this case. So a -4, I don't know how long I've been out. I would say there's going to be something bad that's also happened as well. So I don't know how long I've been out. It could be 20 minutes, it could be an hour in this case. Um, because, I'm slightly concussed. I don't, uh, there could have been multiple people. Somebody came up behind me and attacked me. I don't know. Um, so in addition to not knowing how long I've been out, my head is aching. But I also noticed that my coin pouch is missing too. So while I've been out, some kind citizen of Freeport has found their way to taking all of my money. Uh, so I'm pissed off. I've been robbed, which, for a thief, kind of bad too, right? So um, there is There are just people walking around aimlessly. Uh, I still have a couple of daggers at my boot or what have you. I haven't been taken from all of my stuff, but I don't have any money. And I know I'm going to be in trouble with the guild because I don't have the money that I was supposed to get paid. Um, uh, the name of the person that I was supposed to give it to probably showed up, didn't see the person they were supposed to meet, and left in this case. So that would be as bad a luck as it could be. So at this point, Nathan thinks, what's Nathan's thought here? Um, I want to, I have to do something, right? I don't have the book anymore. It's been taken. Uh, I, memory's still a little fuzzy about who attacked me. I just remember there was, a whirl of, um, you know, somebody came up behind me, whacked me in the head, took the book, and ran off. I didn't even, have a chance to see who'd done that. So um, I'm going to need to. There's a couple of places I could go. I could go back to the Thieves Guild and tell them what happened. I could hide out for a little while because I'm not supposed to immediately head back to the Thieves Guild. Um, but of course, this wasn't my fault, but they could blame it on me because I'm supposed to be giving them some money. I think that's probably the likely choice here. It's like, um, I need to head back and let them know what happened. So, um, starting to get late in the day, so I'm going to head back. Um, I want to see. Okay, so I'm going to do another notice roll, but I'm going to see if anybody is noticing me leaving. So I'm going to roll this again with wisdom. Hopefully, I don't get -4 again. Okay, so that's not good. It's still a -2. One of the things that I have a problem with fate is the variation on the dice. It usually skews between -1 to +1, with most of the time being 0. Or the idea is -4 is supposed to be like less than 5%. It's supposed to be like the nat 1, and +4 is supposed to be the nat 20. I have a trouble with the amount of variance here. I would really like, and maybe this is something I will do. Maybe I'll move it to a D20 and just maybe have more spaces on there for, like, 0 through 5, 5 through 10, 6 through 10, 11 through 15, 16 through 20 would be like, those kinds of things. We'll see. Okay, so it's a -2 +1. So that's a That's a one, -1. Uh, in this case, James he doesn't see anything out of the ordinary. He doesn't see anybody who's taking a notice in him other than people typically walking around. Uh, I would say that James is one of several tens of thousands of people, so he's not like well known by people in town. He's not notorious. He's not infamous. He's not famous. So he's just one of those street urchins. One of the great unwashed who live in Freeport, not connected to any ships or anything like that. So um, could also be that he just didn't notice that somebody is taking note of where he's going. So I think James is going to make his way back to where he likes to hang out. Maybe one of the local pubs that serves as a front for the Thieves Guild, which would make a lot of sense. Um, so what would be the name of that bar? I'm going to use I'm going to call it the Gilded Rose. So what I want to do is kind of go down here. So I've kind of got a rudimentary mind map started. So places here would be, in this case, so I'm using Markdown, but I'm using Mermaid for the mind map. And so places is the Gilded Rose, and it's a front for for whoops. Oh, okay. I'm learning something as I go along. Owned by Silent Chord. All right, there we go. One of the places we have. All right. People and groups here would be Silent Accord, Thieves Guild. I'm going to tell you to strap in because, by the time we get done with this, I may figure out a better way of doing the resolution mechanic and the dice rolls. So we'll see what happens. All right. So Nathan makes his way to the Gilded Rose, and he's been doing this long enough. I think he has a specific way of doing things. His playbook on escaping or making his way back to something. I think he likes to find out if he is being followed by anybody. But even when he gets to the Gilded Rose, he doesn't say anything immediately. He comes in, he sits down. He's nursing a fairly decent sized lump on his head. Um, the is bartender's name is Alara Kai. Alara Kai. So let's see, people. Okay. Alara Kai, bartender at the Gilded Rose. Okay. Bartender, Gilded Rose. There we go. All right. So Nathan goes and sits at the table. He knows Alara. Alara knows him, but they don't act like there's anything going on. I mean, it is a legitimate front for the Silent Accord to do things like money laundering or what have you, and to take ill-gotten gains and some, like most ways to launder money, you use art or restaurants or wine, those kinds of things. So Nathan's like, he's nursing his head, and um, one of the bar keep, one of the barmaids comes over. What do you want? Uh, Nathan says, I, just give me an ale or something like that. I think they know, who he is, but they still like, hey, where's your coin? And he says, I don't have any coin, uh, and but I'm good for it, right? Put it on my tab. And I want to say I think the barmaid looks over to Laura. Laura looks at Nathan with a bit of a wide eye. Does Laura? I wonder if Laura would know. I don't have any stats on Laura, but so let's just put the wisdom at 0 for now. Let's say, let's see what the roll is here. Okay, so this is -2. I'm going to say that she does seem surprised, but she's not saying anything. She gives him an ale. He comes over. He's drinking it, and so this goes on for, I'd say, for about the next 30 to 45 minutes. I think Nathan is concerned about being followed, considering he just got his ass handed to him, and he is wanting to make sure that nobody followed him in, or is going to follow him in. Uh, the Gilded Rose, I don't want to say is in a good part of town. It's probably not in a very busy part of town. So this time of night, you may get a couple of people who are legitimate. You might get some people who are also fellow thieves coming in after a day of ill-gotten gains, pickpockets, etc. Um, so um, I want to roll again here, and let me see what are we gonna do for skills. See, let me double check here. How far down am I? Jesus. Okay. So there they are. All right. Should have probably did an investigate earlier to see if there was anything I could do to get that. I think after he's had his ale, he's going to go up to Alara, and I think it's probably been about 30 to 45 minutes. He's still nursing that bump on his head. He walks up to Alara and he's going to do some rapport on her, with the idea that he's wanting to he's wanting to face the music at this point, right? So he talks to Laura and he says, "I need to talk to Bexley." And I would say Bexley is, his manager, immediate supervisor in the Thieves Guild. I would say that there's some kind of hierarchy, right? So we have a Bexley. I don't know what Bexley's last name is, but maybe they don't have a last name. That would be, Nathan's contact in the silent chord. And um, Laura says he's in the back. So Laura says you probably should go get cleaned up. And she gives him a key to a room. I'm assuming that this Gilded Rose also has rooms or something. So, or a washroom or something. So she says, you should go clean yourself up. You look like shit. He thanks her and he starts to head upstairs. He finds what amounts to a washroom or something like that, and attempts to uh, clean up or fix himself. He hears somebody yell from downstairs, "Don't get blood on my towels. I'll kill you myself." That'd be Alara, right? Alara doesn't want blood on her. Um, he does what he can to clean up. There's some water there. Uh, As he's finishing up in the washroom, he's about to walk out, and the door opens. And I think Nathan's probably a little skittish right now. So immediately he reaches for his dagger, which, maybe he's in the small of his back. Maybe he's got a, a holster or something in his back to keep. And uh, Bexley walks in. And I don't know. I guess I could. Bexley Bexley's a rabbit folk. Bexley's a rabbit folk. In D&D, they'd be a Herringon, right? Um, don't have my. So you look that up. It's Bexley's Herringon. I want a little flavor to not everybody's an uh, Herringon rabbit folk. Nathan, he's quick. He pulls out, and Bexley's like, "Whoa, easy, hold on. What? Are you okay?" And he shuts the door. And you see Bexley walk in as only a Herringon or rabbit folk can. I want to say Bexley's probably, I'd say 5'8". He's probably 6'5" with the ears, right? I imagine him to be mottled white. Maybe he has a orange patch over his eye. He has, clothes on like street clothes or something like that. He probably has a few daggers hidden someplace as well. You can see he's got some brass knuckles in a pocket as well. He's definitely a rough and tumble kind of Herringon. Maybe he has a couple scars on his face as well. And Nathan's got the dagger, and it's okay. Sorry, Bexley, you have no idea how this day has gone. And Bexley opens the door and he looks out, down the hallway. You can see him stop because I imagine rabbit folk have some pretty decent hearing, right? So he probably has some good hearing. Um, he's like, okay, there's nobody of note that isn't one of ours in the bar, so um, let's let's go talk about it. So you and him, Nathan and him, leave the room. They turn right, so they don't go back down the stairs. They take a right, and they go into one of the rooms that would normally be available to people to stay. Um, they shut the door. Bexley's uh, I want to say Bexley's a bit concerned, right? So they go in. First thing you see is, Nathan's like, I don't know what happened. And Bexley's like, and you see him walk over, and it's a room. There's a bed. Uh, it's been made. There is a table, a chair. There's maybe a dresser. There's I would say a pitcher and a bowl for water or something like that if somebody wanted that. Um, it's standard fare, nothing fancy, right? And so Bexley goes over. There's a couple. I won't say light fixtures. There might be. There's a fireplace, if you will. There's a small fireplace up against the wall. It's stone, and Bexley walks over, and you see him touch one of the stones on the fireplace, and there's a door on the side of the fireplace and it opens, and it's a very narrow passage, but it is a ladder or a staircase that spirals down. This would be like in one of the what would be a storage room if there was one, but you can see where the store it goes down into the room. They This is probably the room they give to people who are like out of town, super wealthy, maybe an asshole, and maybe they want to, divest the person of some goods, or maybe this is the room they give people when they're trying to do assassination attempts. It's all kinds, right? So um, Nathan and Bexley head downstairs through the spiral staircase, and um, once the door shuts, they go down. You can tell that they're, Nathan's been here before, so he has taken this before. There's at least three three levels, so we're down below the street level, if you will, into a basement, and even in a sub basement kind of thing. um, when he gets down to the bottom, there's a trap door with a ladder that goes down, and it opens up into sewer, but it's not, it's not like the sewers. These are like tunnels that maybe aren't being used. Maybe the sewers have been dammed up. So these are tunnels that could be used as sewers, but they maybe were never finished. So that's some additional bits of lore, if you will. There's a fairly elaborate sewer system in town that goes out to the ocean. Not all of the sewer system is used, obviously. Um, so they shut that. Bexley's leading the way. Nathan's been this way numerous times, so this is nothing new. They get back, they walk down a little bit, and there's some fluorescent moss or something that keeps this area somewhat lit, because there's, I imagine that there's grates, city grates, so um, or there might be light coming in from other sources. Maybe there's cracks in the infrastructure or something that allows light to come in. But the moss in the tunnels is fluorescent, so it's a slight blue tinge, and you're going to find that all over this this world, if you will. A lot of underground moss, and sometimes it's brought in that it's used in mining because it's a way of lighting and illuminating areas easily without, um, you know, causing, uh, the use of torches or something that could, deplete your oxygen. So Bexley takes Nathan back. They know they're both heading to the same place, so they head back, and they get to another area. I'm imagining the tunnel is it comes to a dead end, but um, again, they're okay. Bexley walks up to the tunnel, and it comes up to like there's like maybe a T function, here, and you're coming up here. So we come to a T, and it looks like, you should go left or right, but there's a little, like another little bit that you can walk up into, like a half, maybe you know, a, maybe another 10 feet, and it ends in a dead end. Like maybe they didn't finish the tunnel, or maybe there's something there. Um, Bexley turns left in that short tunnel, and knocks on the wall. And he knocks in there's a pattern that Nathan knows about, and the door opens. And if Nathan is a dwarf, I don't want to say stereotypical. He knows about that, but um, that's it's something he's done before. So as they head into the room, it's almost as busy as the bar is. There's, it almost looks like the tavern is underground. So there's tables, there's chairs, there's. I'm actually going to roll. I'm going to roll my d10. I'm going to roll a d10 because I have a d10. It's also larger than normal, so I'm going to roll, see how many people are in the room other than the bartender and maybe another serving person. Okay, there's 6. there's 6 people in the room. There's probably 10 tables with 4 chairs. So it's not a small area. And the bartender, help and wait staff, and you might see a couple more stairs, maybe the stairs that go up to the actual Gilded Roses kitchen, potentially, where people can order food down here, special, something off menu, or, they don't want to, have cooking fires and stuff down here. So Bexley motions Nathan to a table. They sit down. Bexley sits down with him, and Bexley turns to Nathan and says, all right, sorry about that. All right, there's some jets flying over. Bexley turns to Nathan and says, "You look like shit. What happened?" And so Nathan tells Bexley, I was heading towards the drop with the book, and I was just about to head into the courtyard. I was waiting for my contact, and all of a sudden I got cracked on the top of the head, and I came to, and book is gone. I don't have any money. Somebody stole from me. They stole from me, and I am. I don't know what happened. I don't know who attacked me. I don't know who took the book, and I, you know, Nathan might say, "Well, I waited around to see if anybody, my contact would show, because um, he would, they don't deal with names, so they'd be like, the person that was supposed to pick it up never did come by. Maybe something that he would say, even though it might be a lie, or he said he never saw the person during the time that he'd come to. So I don't think well, maybe he wouldn't lie, because I don't think he wants to lie right now. But he would say, he got his ass kicked. He when he came to, um, he never saw the contact that was supposed to pick the book up, and he has no money to show for it, so somebody got away with the book. Bexley is, oh, let me see. I'm going to roll, because I would say this kind of ratchets things up. Bexley would obviously be unhappy, but how unhappy? Okay, so that's -1. Uh, so it's -1 from a 0 to negative. So Bexley's unhappy. I would say he's. Would this be the first time that Nathan has messed up? I want to say yes. I want to say yes, that, up until this point, Nathan has been a solid person. He's not like he's a dirtbag. Not unlike, like, you do this again and we're gonna, serve your eyeballs up in the soup of the day or something like that. I would say that Bexley is, I mean, obviously the injuries are such that, Bexley can see that. Um, Nathan has been fairly solid person as a fence, right? So I want to say Bexley's going to give him the benefit of the doubt. So Bexley's like, well, we need to let the boss know. And so what would Nathan think about that? Nathan would, he'd say, we can't, we can't let, do we need to let Blaze know? And I want to say, Blaze, is the head of the silent accord in Freeport. And Blaze is, you know what I want to say? Blaze, Nathan's never seen Blaze before. Nathan's never met Blaze before. That's how bad this is, right? Like, in the years that he's worked for the Silent Accord, he's never met Blaze. He's never had a need to meet Blaze. So Nathan is concerned. It's like, what is it? What does it mean? Um, so um, Bexley, Nathan's like, well, what does that mean? Am I in trouble? How bad am I in trouble here? Am I gonna, is this it's like a thing? You know, Bexley's like, don't I don't know, but we do need to let Blaze know because there was a good sum of money that was supposed to have changed hands here for this book. And Nathan didn't know what the book was. He just knew it was a book. He didn't bother looking at it. And he says, "What do you know about the book?" And Bexley's like, "All I know is we stole it from the library in the palace, from the Doge in the palace. The Doge being the head of the person. Um, be very so Doge in this case, Italy. I'm thinking of it in terms of Italy and the highest ranking official, the head of state in this area, for instance, would be similar to a duke or something like that. Um, and yeah, it would be very similar to like maybe a duke or some kind of uh, medium level nobility. Anyway, so the Doge of Freeport has a uh, fairly large library with a lot of tomes in it, and this book was taken from his library and was supposed to be delivered to the person that um, that Nathan was supposed to give it to. And I want to say Nathan um, was looking for. Let me pull up a description of a person. Let me see. Going to let me see where. Hold on a sec. New conversation. So I'm going to ask Copilot to give me I need a description of someone from a pirate like setting where I'm supposed to have given them an item. Um, make the description in the same method as film noir. So in this case, Nathan was supposed to meet somebody who had a red flower on their lapel. And so I have no idea if they're supposed to be dwarf or whatever, but a red flower on their lapel. So this would be unknown person with red. What kind of flowers would be red? Let me see. Red flower in It would probably be maybe a hibiscus or something similar. You know, if you yeah, maybe something like a hibiscus looking flower. Maybe not the exact same flower as a hibiscus, but you know, you can go and look up a red hibiscus. They exist in this area of the region, very similar to what you might find on Haiti or Dominican Republic. So I'm going to say that it is a hibiscus looking flower, and so that would be red hibiscus. Red hibiscus. Spell hibiscus, right? Uh, okay. And that person never showed. They never saw. Nathan never saw. So Bexley says, "All right, wait here. Get yourself something to drink, and I'll see what we can do about talking to the boss." And so Bexley takes off. And I don't know who Blaze is yet. And you know, if you are interested, you can tell me what you think Blaze might be, or who Blaze might be. Uh, but so in this case, Nathan is sits here for about 45 minutes, just as he's starting to think that this might be bad. Um, you see Bexley open the door to what would have been like the stockroom in the Gilded Rose, where he's going back behind the bar and all that. And you see him motion. Nathan gets up. I would say Nathan is concerned, worried, because it's been a long time, right? And this may be it for Nathan, right? He may have maybe taking the last walk that anybody's ever known about. Um, so he goes down another set of stairs and is in a, I would say not a well lit room. It's probably a darker, um, maybe half as enlightened. And as you go further back in the room, it's a bit more dark. Um, so Blaze is Nathan sees a couple of people in the room that is lit. You know, just be he recognizes one of them as maybe Bexley's boss. I don't know who that is yet. We'll figure that out. If they show back up again, we'll give them a name. But he also sees a couple shadows in the back, and um, Bexley sits down with his boss, and Nathan sits down with Bexley, and they sit and wait for, I would say, about a couple minutes, and all of a sudden, hmm, just the silence is deafening, right? Nobody's talking in the room. All of a sudden, Nathan hears a voice in his head, and he he hears, what happened to the book? And he hears it, and I don't say it's not a man's voice, it's not a woman's voice. It's odd and it's kind of echoey, right? And Nathan's like, and he says out loud, "What the?" He says the F word. He says, "What the fuck?" Bex is like, "Shh, don't do that. Just think the words that you want to say." And so James sits back down. His head's throbbing, by the way. His head is just banging. The ale did very little to help out with that. But so he sits back down, and he says, "Blaze, is that you?" And you because this is the first time he's ever had anything like this. He knows magic exists, and he knows that there are people who can use the powers of their mind to do things. Um, and he starts saying, uh, he starts explaining in his head. He's like, you know, well, I was walking along, and he's closing his eyes, and he sees the picture in his mind, and he's got the book under his arm, and he's walking around, and he's scanning around to make sure that he isn't being followed. And as he's about to walk in, he's got the two buildings here, and they're coming up on the edge here, and you can see where the edge is coming, and there's a huge, expansive courtyard, square kind of area with the fountain. He's looking at the fountain, and he sees some kids playing and running, and they're throwing a ball, and maybe one of them is playing with a rope, or learning rope tricks or something like that. And he's taking a look around. There's nobody behind him, and as he turns, he continue walks, and he's walking, and he sees the kids kicking the ball, and they're playing. You hear giggling, and then all of a sudden, whack, and everything goes dark. And he's explaining this, but he's seeing it in his head. And then he says, well, and then I woke up and I made my way back to the bar here to let Bexley know what was going on. And that's where we are today. I don't think he lied. I don't think he needs to lie, because I don't think he's in the wrong here, right? Um, so uh, people are sitting, you this is the first time you actually hear murmuring or something going on. Then all of a sudden, I would say Nathan hears something, and it would be the shuffling of what looks like an alligator coming out of the shadows where those two people were. And the alligator walks up, turns and looks at Nathan. And Nathan looks down at the alligator. He's never seen this alligator before in his life. But Nathan looks at the alligator, and it almost looks like the alligator shook his head like this. And um, he doesn't know if it's somebody's pet alligator or what. Uh, so it could be, he knows that there are people that can summon animals or animal companions to be with them. So maybe this is somebody in the room's animal companion. But at the same time, he's he hears in his head, "I believe you. Uh, is there anything else you'd like to add to this?" And Nathan says, "Did you hear anything?" Blaze says, "Did you hear anything prior to your getting whacked on the head?" And he thinks back, and he said, "All I heard was the kids laughing and playing in the square." And so I'm gonna think back. I want to, let me see, what do I want to do? I want to do maybe like an investigate check, but I'd like to see if it's gonna work. Okay, so this is a better roll. This was a plus. Let me see. Notice would be like a. I want to say a notice would be where, so that'd be a wisdom. So he got a 3. Okay, so he said he heard the kids playing, and he said he heard music. He says he remembers music, and he said there was a scraping sound. I think I heard a scraping sound, and then all of a sudden, wham! And so Blaze asks, did you look up and see if there was anybody, following you from the building tops? Nathan, I don't think Nathan did. I don't think Nathan thought that maybe somebody was following him from the roof. And so they probably got the drop on you from the roof. And it's a shame that we couldn't figure out who that was. We know that they don't work for us because it wouldn't make sense for them to do that. And it would not be good for their health if they did double cross us. And Nathan forgets himself and he asks out loud, "What was the book for?" And you hear Bexley go, "Don't ask out loud. Don't ask out loud. I can hear you and they can hear you when you know." And so Blaze says that Blaze asks, "You didn't look at the book." And Nathan says in his head, I don't normally look at what I'm getting rid of, or that it wasn't my business to know, but it seems like it's my business now. And I think that's surprising to Bexley. And he's like, you you know you, you maybe hear Bexley go, "Easy, easy, Nathan, easy." And so um, there's a pause, and you hear Blaze's voice. Actually, you don't hear Blaze's voice. You hear the another voice in the room, but it's not from anybody around the table. And they say, that was one of the tomes of Seyvn Wilder. And does Nathan know who Seyvn Wilder is? I'm going to I think I want to overcome something. So this is going to be, I want to say this is a level like 2. So he has to score better than a +2 or match a +2 to be able to even know who that is. He does not know who that is. And so Nathan says, "No, it doesn't ring a bell. Is it somebody important?" And you hear the other voice, not the voice of Blaze, say, "Seyvn Wilder was the person who founded Freeport. A pirate of great renown, and wrote about his or her travels. I'm going to say her travels and the settling of Freeport as a pirate haven. There are many, many secrets in that book that are would be damaging to our organization, but to untold number of people. There are so many secrets in that book. It was under lock and key in the Doge's palace, and we were trying we had given, the book was being purchased by somebody to get it out of the city. And Nathan says, "Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Why would we steal a book and there be a buyer?" And Blaze says, a very good question, actually. Blaze says that it could that we were. All right, so we stole the book from the palace, the Doge's palace. It has secrets in it about Freeport from Seyvn Wilder, who was the pirate queen who founded Freeport. The person in question wanted the book because they wanted to investigate some of the secrets in the city. And we were going to share in that knowledge by monetary means, but also by any other secrets that could be found for blackmail or anything else that might help further the goals of the guild. The fact that somebody else now has the book, we can't verify it's actually the buyer. And actually, I think at this point, Blaze will pop in to everybody's head and go, "We'll confirm with the buyer to see if they've got the book. But if they don't, we may have to do something about that. We will have to do something about that." Thankfully, we have resources that might be able to help us figure out what happened to the book after you were, hit over the head. And Nathan says, I want to help out with that investigation. And Blaze says, I had hoped you might, because if we'd have found that you were double crossing us, you wouldn't be sitting here. So, I want you to go back up. I want you to recover, and I want you to come back down and see us tomorrow. And you see Bexley get up, you see his boss get up, and all three of you go back up into the main tavern. Bexley says, that was tense. I wasn't sure what was going to happen there. But it feels like you and I are now on the hook for recovering this book. And Nathan says, I want to find out who did it and why, because this is going against my reputation. Bexley says, all right, get a good night's sleep, and we'll meet back up here in the morning in the room here, and we'll figure out what the next steps are. And I think that's where we're going to stop for episode 1. I want to work on a little bit more of the mechanics, because I'm finding all I'm doing is notice checks or investigation checks or whatever. So at some point we will definitely have some fighting, but I want to maybe do a little bit of rejiggering of some things. I like the idea of the mind map. I like the idea of having that information. I want to futz a little bit with with the strength intelligence decks and the skill list and stuff to kind of make those mesh a little better, to make it a little more dynamic in this case. So that was it. I hope you enjoy, and I hope you have any comments, concerns, anything that might help play get a little better. But yeah, so I'm hoping to be back next week with another session of this. We'll figure out what Nathan is going to do to not clear his name, but to recover the book. Figure out who the other faction is that has the book, and what the person with the red hibiscus knows about that. And maybe we'll figure out who the red hibiscus person was and go and talk to them next week and figure out, why they didn't come by, or maybe they did come by, or maybe they double crossed us. That could be one of those things. So have a great day. Take care of yourself. This is Peerless Gamer, Brian Brake, and join us for episode 2 next week. Okay? Have a great day. Take care. Bye now.